Have you ever wanted to disappear? Literally delete all your social media, live in the middle of the night to another city or country, cut off all contacts with friends and family, and start an entirely new life. Even if you haven't had these thoughts yourself, someone you know probably has, and that's normal. Psychology has long studied this phenomenon. According to research, many people feel overwhelmed by the modern world demands. We are bombarded daily with negative news feeds, and our constant connection to gadgets makes us feel trapped with an insurmountable desire to escape from all this modernity, an escape to be alone, to recharge, and in some sense, to heal. And yes, it would be strange if only people in certain countries thought about this. But no, people think about it everywhere. In Japan, for example, such people are called Jōhatsu, or the evaporated ones. In this video, I'll explain how people usually manage to disappear without a trace, why their families and the police often turn a blind eye, where they disappear to, and why they decide to take this step, and of course, how they survive. I'm sure almost everyone has had the desire to disappear at least once in their life, to move to another city or country, start over, and make sure no one knows where you are. Now, imagine you actually did it. You left home without leaving any explanation to your loved ones. Where would you go? Most likely it would be a peaceful place, or conversely a big city full of opportunities. Well, Jōhatsu have slightly different preferences. Actually, they have almost no choice but the place we will discuss later. These people might not differ from ordinary people. They go to work, school, and live normal lives, but then one day, they vanish. In Japan, there is a strong culture of shame and reputation. Overworking is common, and a person's psyche might simply not withstand the pressure from family, bosses, or society. The shame of not meeting family or employer expectations is more frightening than death for many Japanese. When the feelings become unbearable, some decide to end their lives, while others chose to disappear without a note or explanation. Families don't contact the police, also out of shame to avoid dishonor. Though few speak openly about this phenomenon, most Japanese know about Jōhatsu. Admitting that your family has such a person means being humiliated in the eyes of society. Even if families do contact the police, there is little the police can do. They won't interfere unless it's a crime or accident. Without evidence of a crime, the police are not allowed to provide family members with call logs or surveillance footage. Personal lives in Japan are protected at a high level. There isn't a unified database of missing persons in Japan yet. Do their relatives genuinely not worry or wanted to find their loved ones? As mentioned, the topic of Jōhatsu is taboo in Japan, but one family from Tokyo went public with their search for their son despite the taboo. Their son Naori disappeared on May 3, 2002. After saying goodbye to his parents, 24-year-old Naori told them not to wait for him for dinner. He didn't show up at home for several days. The parents became worried only when they got a call from a Tokyo ferry company, informing them that Naori's bag was found on a ferry that had reached its final stop. Naori's contacts were listed on his documents, but he was nowhere to be found. The ferry workers assured that he didn't jump overboard. They would have noticed if someone had jumped into the water. Maybe he got off at an earlier stop, or perhaps he placed his belongings on the ferry to confuse the trail. The police refused to investigate as there were no facts indicating a crime had been committed. The family couldn't afford a detective, so Naori's brother Tsuyoshi began his own investigation, which led nowhere even after 7 years. The parents wrote letters to the mayor of Tokyo and even the prime minister of Japan, asking for more action on the issue of missing persons. They started petitions demanding the police spend more time distributing flyers and reports about the missing. The family was invited to several TV shows, but there was still no news from their son. Naori's mother said that most people searching for the loved ones do it secretly. Among the evaporated, this practice of confusing the trail is common. French journalist Lena Mager learned about this phenomenon in 2008 and dedicated 5 years to studying it. She wrote a book collecting stories of various people she managed to find. Initially, many refused or evaded her questions, saying that Jōhatsu is just a legend in their country. She couldn't even hire a translator at first because Japanese translators, upon learning about the topic, politely declined. Eventually, a 15-year-old man named John, an expert on the Yakuza, agreed to help her. He became her translator and helped find a public company that assists in searching for the missing. In addition to such services, Japan has so-called night movers. These are companies that help people escape and cover their tracks, or conversely, stage a robbery in the house. Since from a legal standpoint there is nothing illegal about Jōhatsu, an entire industry has formed with thousands of companies helping people disappear. Some even have their own websites. Hattori, the owner of one such company, shared how he got into this business. Initially, he had a regular moving company that helped people relocate, but one day a stranger approached him in a bar asking for help to disappear. Her husband was drowning in debt and she feared he would ruin her life too. Hattori agreed. After that, he posted an ad stating that his company helps with yoneki, which is what nighttime moves are called in Japan. Potential clients quickly understood what it was about, and soon Hattori could barely keep up with the orders. For nighttime moves, he charged 400,000 yen, 3 times more than for a regular move. Later, Hattori wrote a book about it. He admitted that he didn't consider people who decided to disappear as cowards. On the contrary, he believed he was helping them find a path to a better life. Since he was born and raised in Japan, Hattori could fully understand the prevalent culture of shame, submission, and reputation. Therefore, he understood the motives and feelings of those who decided to take this step. Jōhatsu is the extreme degree of despair when a person sees no other way out but to flee. The journalist also spoke with another owner of a similar company, Miku Soita, who, like Hattori, believes she's helping people. She herself once ran away from her past, which left her with a scar on her cheek. Saida recalls that back then, there were no laws protecting victims of domestic violence. The police could only ask the abuser to stop and nothing more. I took my dog, got into the car, and disappeared. The disappearances organized by these companies usually occur under the cover of night. Often, the employees helping people vanish pretend to be movers or repair crews. After nightfall, they arrived at the client's home in an unmarked truck, curtained windows, and helped quickly pack and load all belongings. Within just a couple of hours, the person disappears. The company helps people settle in a new place and does everything to make it impossible to find them. But if someone decides to return to their former life, no one will stop them. These companies only fulfill their duties. If a person wants to return, they can, but Jōhatsu rarely return to their relatives. Depending on the complexity and circumstances, the cost of such services can range from a few hundred to several tens of thousands of dollars. For those Japanese who do not have enough money for such services, they have to disappear on their own using published guides. One of them is called The Complete Guide to Disappearing, with the note, "Abandon your sad, pathetic reality." It quite instills faith in the future. What drives people to become Jōhatsu? The reasons can be very different. Some people do not want to go through all the bureaucratic hell of signing a bunch of papers, so it is easier to disappear than to file for divorce. Some lose a large sum in gambling machines. Some even leave their small children with their spouse. Some flee domestic violence, which the police used to ignore entirely. Some are associated with a religious cult and thus decided to break ties and free themselves. There have been cases when young people vanished because of failed exams, as they could not bear the shame and disgrace that fell on their shoulders. The largest number of disappearances occurs during global financial crisis. People get into debt to somehow feed themselves and their families. The annual interest rates on microloans could exceed 100%. Those who didn't pay on time were threatened, and the debt amount was further increased. Some of these loan companies were owned by the mafia, so a term yamuken emerged among the people, money borrowed from the yakuza. So where did the Japanese go? Some Japanese did manage to start a better life after disappearing, but this is rather an exception. Among the Jōhatsu, there are not many wealthy people who could afford a beautiful new life. The overwhelming majority settle in the Sia District. It is often called the ghetto that doesn't exist. You won't find this area on any official maps, and from a legal point of view, it doesn't even exist. Tokyo, the capital of Japan, is one of the most high-tech cities in the world. Here, among beautiful modern skyscrapers, streets with neon signs, and traditional temples, there is the ghetto district of Sanya. Almost the entire district consists of extensive slums. People here live in tiny, dirty hotel rooms where there is usually no internet and no separate toilet. There are many conditions necessary for a comfortable existence. In some of these hostels, tenants are forbidden to talk out loud after 6 in the evening. Many of the Jōhatsu who fled to this district live like illegal immigrants, although they remain citizens of their country. They take any hard, low-paying jobs. Moreover, this area is truly controlled only by the local Japanese mafia, the infamous yakuza. There are those among the Jōhatsu who exist in such conditions and join them. The Sanya district becomes a new home for the Jōhatsu. The probability that someone will come here looking for them is extremely low. Yes, it's unlikely that many relatives will come here in search of a missing person, but among tourists or foreigners, selling journalists to our people. Due to its sad fame, Senia enjoys some popularity. Here are a few stories of people whom journalists met in this district. They met each of them personally to record their stories. 50-year-old Norihiro orchestrated his disappearance 10 years ago. Back then, he was working as an engineer and he had a wife and son. But when he was fired, he did not dare to tell his family about it. Instead, every day for a week, he put on a suit, leather shoes, took a briefcase, and left the house, pretending to go to work as usual. On payday, Norihiro says he carefully shaved, said goodbye to his wife, and taking the subway, disappeared. He never returned to that area and never saw his family again. It pains me to think about how my parents searched for me. I hope they are doing well. Maybe they still believe I will return, or maybe they have already died, reflects the older man who now works in heavy, low-paying jobs. He doesn't mention his wife and son. Norihiro lives in a dilapidated workers' hotel in an empty room without windows, with torn tatami on the floor. There are thousands like me, says Norihiro. 20-year-old Masawa did not return home after prison. He says he did not want his parents to be ashamed of him and moved to live in Sanya. He was convinced that it was better for his relatives not to look for him, and it was better for them to think he was dead. Martial arts master Ichiro, upon getting married, was optimistic about the future. Together with his wife Tomoko, they lived in their own house in Saitama, a prestigious suburb of Tokyo. Their firstborn Tim was born there. The family took out a loan to open a dumpling shop, but due to unforeseen circumstances, the family business failed. The couple did what thousands of their compatriots do in similar circumstances. They sold their house, packed their belongings, and disappeared forever. Agree, it's a strange state of existence outside the bounds of civilization in one of the most developed cities in the world. But recently, this area has been slightly improved, with many cheap hotels appearing. More and more people are learning about the Jōhatsu in this district every day, including you. And this is a chance to profit from the tourist boom. But does the life of the disappeared become easier? It's a rhetorical question. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and leave your comments on this case. Goodbye.